Both Fire Island veterans and newcomers will enjoy the new Hulu film Fire Island on June 3rd. The island itself is Fire Island's most valuable asset. Much of the movie was shot on location in the late summer and early fall of last year, giving it a unique flavor. Fire Island is a romantic comedy of manners based on Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, directed by Andrew Ahn and written by Joel Kim Booster, who also stars. Fire Island's tight and perplexing hierarchies make Kim Booster's template choice appropriate. It's a reimagined rendition of Pride and Prejudice, set on Fire Island and presented through the eyes of a gay man. As a result, it's a modern take on a classic. Everything revolves around the homosexual community, which is fantastic. It's the first film to include gay Asian Americans in romantic lead roles. It's groundbreaking because it comes from a major studio, which is a huge step in and of itself, and it's not too emotional or tragic. It's about chosen family and the importance of friendship, and it has a lot of gay delight at its core. I don't believe we have anything quite like that, and it's handled in such a thoughtful, realistic, grounded, organic way that I believe all audiences, particularly the L.G.B.T.Q community, will relate to it. In addition, the cast's diversity is unique and significant. We have an Asian American director who's gay. It'll have a significant impact on queer cinema. We've seen direct adaptations of the author's work over the years, such as Joe Wright's Pride and Prejudice in 2005. With Fire Island, we have yet another blatant reimagining of Austen's work, yet you'll be hard-pressed to see the parallels at times. No one could recall Elizabeth Bennet traveling to a foreign island for a week of sun, sand, and sex, and her turning off the lights in her parlor room to have a secret sexual rendezvous. Matt Rogers spent a lot of his childhood vacations in Fire Island. They had a very straight vibe to them. But Rogers was well aware that this was not the complete picture. He was familiar with Fire Island Pines and Cherry Grove, two resort areas that had long been a queer mecca. Roger admits, "I was always a little terrified of them and apprehensive about them. I could never say to someone, 'Hey, why don't we go there for a day?' because I believe that would be inappropriate." That's what we get in filmmaker Andrew Ahn's retelling of the classic tale, this time focusing on Noah, Joel Kim Booster, and his quest for sexual pleasure while visiting Fire Island, the gay Disney world, where no one wears corsets or button-down shirts. At its core, this is a buddy comedy about a bunch of homosexual Asian American males, as much as it's a love story between Noah and Will, Conrad Ricamora, this version's Mr. Darcy. It also looks down on other people's prejudices, particularly in sequences where Noah and his friends are mocked for their appearances and cultural aspirations by some of the shallower people they encounter at parties. The film also provides an insight into the homosexual dating culture, where having a good time is typically prioritized over finding a long-term spouse. This isn't to suggest Noah and his repressed best friend Howie aren't having a good time. Still, it's evident that they both need some pleasure in their lives, and their week-long escape to Fire Island is their way of getting away from the responsibilities and hardships they experience at home. Fire Island features a group of queer best friends who assemble for their yearly week on the island, full of love and fun. However, a turn of events could mean that this is their last summer in gay paradise. As they discover the island's romance and pleasures, their relationships as a chosen family are tested to their limits. Fire Island is a frequently humorous film with keen remarks about race and sexuality, but the plotting becomes obvious and heavy-handed when it tries to imitate Austen's novel. This is unfortunate because the remainder of the film is fantastic, uninhibited fun with characters who don't deserve to be constrained by the traditions of previous stories. The film is a story of people navigating a challenging reality, attempting to wring a good, fulfilling time from a situation that sometimes appears intent on robbing them of it. That seriousness is in an interesting dialogue with the film's bawdier, raunchier qualities, if not always in perfect harmony. Noah, played by Kim Booster, is a dashing, bed-hopping nurse who's making an annual trip to Fire Island with his closest buddies. Howie, Bowen Yang, is in town on a visit from San Francisco, where he has relocated to pursue a career in technology. Keegan, Thomas Mattos, Luke, Matt Rogers, and Max, Torian Miller, the zany sidekicks, have made their way out of town, ready to whoop it up and provide biting commentary. These personalities are described for us through Noah's narration, which also gives the uninitiated a rapid overview of the lay of the land. A bit of exposition that is perhaps essential, considering that Fire Island is not a geographically or financially accessible destination for most people. One of the film's recurring themes is money. After losing most of her money investing in Quibi, the guy's host, earthy kooky lesbian Erin, Margaret Cho, will have to sell her beloved home. That contrasts sharply with the rich guys on the oceanfront side of the island. Snobbish muscle gods who are nearly entirely white, as the video points out. Noah and Howie must deal with being shunned at a place that is allegedly intended to be a welcoming sanctuary for Asian males on an island, and within a bigger community that's often obnoxiously bigoted towards them. The film expresses the agony and fury of this, but Kim Booster also allows it to linger softly but insistently in the background of many more tense interactions. Fire Island isn't supposed to be a solution to this problem. After all, it's not Noah and Howie's problem to solve, nor Anne and Kim Booster's. There are also issues to resolve within Howie and Noah's friendship. Howie's body image and nerdy discomfort are completely unreflected in Noah's rippling form and sex-happy joie de vivre. We get the idea that Noah's groove is very new. Perhaps Howie used to regard them as peers. That tragic dynamic is clearly addressed in the film, one that many homosexual men and other people, of course, will find all too familiar. It would be preferable if Fire Island spent even more time looking at the deteriorating mechanics of this crucial bond. Fire Island feels most personal and intimate in these moments of confession and debate. But alas, the business and activity of the film's plot must be attended to sooner or later. As is customary at tea dances, love interests appear. Will Conrad Ricamora, a severe and hunky lawyer whose frigid reaction to Noah's exuberance hides a budding desire. For Howie, here's the babyface Charlie, James Scully, whose mean girl pals and obnoxious ex-boyfriend constantly sabotage his attempts to date Howie. The satisfying ends of these amorous adventures must be reached before the end. Still, there's a mystery with a solicitous insta-gay, Dex Zane Phillips, who is up to naught, and a few stops for high comedy shenanigans from Keegan and Luke along the way. It's laughable that the film presents the island's sensual indulgences so candidly and lightheartedly. Maybe all of that, juxtaposed with the mushier, gentler material, is a good depiction of what it's like to be on Fire Island, horned up and melancholic, addled by both chemicals and ceaseless heaves of emotions. Despite the occasional sideways into such serious subjects as toxic masculinity and racism, this is still a good film about friendship and queer culture that people of all sexual persuasions should appreciate. There are plenty of comedic situations with witty one-liners, and it's fantastic to see a mainstream film focus on homosexual and Asian characters in such a fun yet polite way. Fire Island manages to get its thoughts across even when the actors are skimpily clad and hornier than rabbits